Good morning, all of you. Till now, we have discussed the various machine learning algorithms uh, that includes the linear regression, KNN, and K-means algorithm with suitable examples and graphs. We discussed it. So today we shall discuss the spam filters, naive bias, and data wrangling. So this is the third module which we are starting today. So, and the syllabus is very less in this particular module. So, uh, before this, um, we shall see what is a spam. So, we receive a lot of emails in our daily life, um, unwanted junk mails, a lot of them, maybe advertisements and some financial frauds. So saying that loan will be given at very low rates or high interest returns will be provided through deposits and all those things. So those are very spam emails, always irritating, misleading, and sometimes with lot of spam emails, so we will forget, or it is difficult for us to find the important mails also. So yeah, this is an example email on your screen, a screenshot that is provided in the textbook. So suspicious spam emails. So yeah, nowadays we have also along with advertisements that within these many days, if you use this product you can lose 10 kgs, right? So you can become fit, you can build muscles. So a lot of such of kinds of advertising mails will be there. And also you can make 1 crore in 6 months by trading, like that, stock market trading. So all those kind of emails will appear and they are spam. So how to identify a spam? It is important. So when I say it is how to identify a spam, it is by a machine or a program. How a program can identify a spam email without a human reading it. So like that. So one idea would be to classify any email as spam if it contains certain keywords, maybe a loan, maybe like a fat loss, like that. So we'll take some words and we'll identify whether those words are appearing in the mail content. So that is a good rule to start if you want to classify an email. That is, we start with filtering rule. And once we start filtering based on these keywords or say spam words, then what happens nowadays, even the spammers, they will change the spelling also. So instead of capital O, they will put zero. Instead of L, they will put capital I. So like that, they will also play around by modifying the spelling. So it is sad that spammers are also smart, and they are not working on more important projects, like selling their supplements, food supplements, making somebody fat, lean, like that. So other thing is, maybe to start with about the length of the subject. So in a mail, we will have a length of a subject. So based on that also we can classify uh, whether it is a spam or not. Maybe excessive use of exclamatory marks or punctuation marks, like that. So some rules we have to build based on which we will classify an email as a spam or not. So when we talk about modeling such an identification system, so we would try a probabilistic model. So this probabilistic model will have a very simple rules, that is, what is the probability that the given mail can be classified as a spam. So that is what the final output will be, a probability value indicating whether how much percentage that email is a spam. So or can we use the algorithms like k nearest neighbor or linear regression, which we learned in our previous module? So they don't fit for this particular problem. So instead, we'll be using the naive Bayes to solve this particular problem. So before looking at naive Bayes, why linear regression won't work in filtering the spam? So that is one aspect that we need to look into. Why linear regression fails in filtering, or why linear regression doesn't work while filtering a spam email. So we have already discussed linear regression and we are familiar with it. But in order to have a linear regression, we need a data set or a matrix. So if we have an email, so we can develop a matrix. So for each word, what we have uh, identified as a spam word, so we will create a matrix. So in that particular matrix, we will have columns, and those columns will be filled with the values. So for example, consider this one only, here, where for each word we will declare. For example, we have a word called as the spam word, that is loan. Let us say it is loan. Loan is a word. So this is we have identified loan, maybe a fat, another word. Another word would be a gift. So these are all we are identifying as a spam email or spam words. So for these words, what we do in the data set, we will create a columns. Okay. So these words will act as a column header. Then here we will have a message or email. So maybe message 1 or email 1, email 2, like that. For each of this, we will be tabulating it like this. So in the email 1, how many times this word loan is appearing? So if this word appears, then will indicate how many times it is appearing. Or if this word is not appearing, then we will write 0. So if it is appearing, we'll write 1. So if it is appearing 2 times, so we'll write 2. Similarly, in the second message or mail, so we'll write how many times so these words are appearing. So either we'll write 0, 0 indicates so not appearing. So that word is not appearing in the message. So 1 indicates so messages are word. Actually, word is appearing. So it is word is appearing. That is the spam word. So sometimes 0 or 1 is sufficient. So if you still want to keep track how many times that particular word is repeating, so we can indicate it by a number. So based on how many times that is appearing. Now what happens? So each word, whatever we have as a spam, since each one of them is occupying a column header, so that becomes a feature. So what are the features for this particular problem? So the features are the words that we are identifying as a spam words. So they appear as a feature. And in that column, we will write 1 if the word is appearing in any message. 0 if it is not appearing. So each column represents the appearance of a different word. Now, now let us see how linear regression can be applied over here. But the problem here is linear regression, provides a continuous modeling. So linear regression is aimed at modeling the continuous output. But here in our case, we want the answer to be in binary. So at the end, we want an email to be classified either as a spam or as a not spam. So that is a binary result. Either it is spam or not spam. But in linear regression, it is a continuous output modeling. So how to fit a linear regression for this problem? So that is one issue here. If we still want to continue with linear regression on this, so we can still go ahead and model this particular problem in linear regression. But for that to happen, we have to keep some threshold value. So some threshold needs to be kept. If the value in the linear regression is obtained is less than regression, so then we will declare it as 0. If it is greater than some threshold value, then we will write it as 1. So based on that, we can declare whether it is a spam or not spam. But the problem here is not about this classification based on threshold, but actually the number of variables. So here we said, so each word is a feature. So how many words we can have in the spam? Maybe 1 lakh words. So many words will be there. So for each such word, huge number of variables will appear for the linear regression. So since the linear regression has huge words, maybe if we have 10,000 emails, then 1 lakh words. So how many columns we need to have? So that makes it complex to represent a matrix equation. So since for the linear regression is not invertible, so we cannot reverse it. So here it is not even close. So can it be solved if we limit the number of words from 1 lakh to 10,000? So is it possible? But still we have a large matrix which is not invertible. So that's too many variables versus observation to feel good about it. So with carefully chosen feature selection and domain expertise, we could limit it to max or minimum 100 words. That would be enough. With this, we can apply linear regression. But how about applying KNN? So this is a problem with linear regression. So a lot of words are there. We need somehow to manage, bring down the number of words. But how about applying KNN? So KNN is a nearest neighbor, right, to form a spam filter. So again in KNN also, we need to choose the features. The same features we'll use. Let us assume that for each word, we'll put it in a column. So those features again will have a value 0 or 1 depending on whether the word is present or not. Then we need to define two emails. How to choose the nearest value, if we are applying KNN, then we need to decide how two emails are nearer. How to say it is near? If we have two emails like this, two emails, how to say that they are nearer? So we need a mechanism to say these two emails are near. So how to choose? So one way of saying whether they are nearer is based on the words they are having. How many common words both these emails are having? Based on that, we can say they are nearer. So two emails are nearer to each other based on which words they contain. Again, here the question is, if we have 10,000 emails and 1 lakh words, so how will we counter the problem? Too many dimensions will be there. So in KNN, for each variable, one dimension is created. Then we'll be potentially working with 1 lakh dimensions. So how to compute the distances in 1 lakh dimensional space? That require a lot of computational work, but that is not a real problem. So the real problem is, even our nearest neighbors are really far away. So that is called as the curse of dimensionality. So KNN makes, KNN will be a poor algorithm for this particular case. So that's why, KNN is suitable for maybe handwriting recognition. So if we have a written numbers, so we can put them in 16 cross 16 grids, and then we can convert it into 256 dimensional space, apply Archimedean metric, and find the sum of squares difference between the entities, and then we'll vectorize it and apply KNN and find the handwritten digits. But here it is spamming. So we cannot apply linear regression, and we cannot apply this one KNN, and k-means, the purpose of k-means is completely different. So the best suitable algorithm for this would be the KNN, is the naive Bayes. So naive Bayes is based on Bayes law. So what does Bayes law says? So consider this one. So since the two of the methods, that is linear regression and KNN, won't work for the email, that is spam filtering problem, so another classical classification method, that is naive Bayes. So naive Bayes is based on the Bayes law. So in order to understand Bayes law, consider a particular example. So the example would be this one, a medical example. So before going to the spam example, we shall see this medical example. So let's start with simple example. Before that, let us say we have a rare disease. Okay, for time being, let us consider as a COVID. So as a disease. So, and 1% of the population is infected. So we have to test everyone, or everyone in the population. So we have a highly sensitive and specific test. And in that particular test, 99% of the sick patients test positive, which means if a person is sick, then 99% he will be tested positive. So which means 1%, a sick patient can be in the test report, it can come as negative. And on the other case, 99% of the healthy patients test negative, which means not infected in the test also it is negative. So that is 99%, which means 1% of the time a healthy patient can get a positive report also. So this is a probability of this particular test that we are conducting. Now, given this scenario, if a patient tests positive, what is the probability that the patient is actually sick? So in the report, if the test result is positive, what probability is that the person is actually infected is a question over here. So in order to understand this, so let us again, consider there are 10,000 people. Okay. So in 10,000 people, 1% of the population. So here let us see. Okay. So total number of people is 10,000. So in that 10,000, so as mentioned in the problem, that is 1% of the population is infected. So which means 1% of 1, that is 1% of 10,000. So we will end up with 100. So which means, so 100 people are there, they are sick. So 100 people are sick. So out of 10,000, 100 people are sick. So which means we can say that 9,900 people are healthy. So they are healthy people. So that is what given over here. So 100 people are sick and 9,900 people are healthy. So moreover, giving the test. So this is the statistics. Now let us come back to the specific of the test. So 99% of the sick patient test positive. So how many sick patient we have? 100 sick patient are there. So which means, so 99 out of sick people, so 99 will be tested as positive, 1 will be tested as negative. So according to this 99% rule, so 99% sick patient testing positive. So in our case, 100 people are there, 99%, 99 test positive, 1, even though the person is sick, will be tested as negative. So just like whatever we have a rapid kit test going on in COVID. So sometimes if even the person is positive, it will give negative result. So that is because of the variant that is going on. So that's why they suggest to go for antigen test or RT-PCR, like that. Now for healthy case, so what is the scenario? So for a healthy person, 99% of the healthy patients test negative. So what is 99% of this? 9,000. So 99% of this one means, so it is actually it is 9,801 actually. So 9,801 people will be tested as negative because they are healthy, and the remaining 99 people will be tested as positive because only 99% of the healthy patients test negative. So 99 people will be tested as positive. Now if you look at the data of the people who have been tested as positive, so what is the overall data? Here 99 people have been tested positive, here 99 people have been tested positive, here the 99 they are sick, here 99 they are healthy. But what is the percentage of the sick people being classified as sick? So that is here 50%. So if a test result comes as positive, see what is the total test result in the positive is actually 99 plus 99, that is so total positive is 198, out of which how many are actually sick? That is 99. So that is 50%. So if a test result is positive, in other words, it is indicating that there is only 50% chances that the person is either healthy or sick. So the same thing, we shall see as a tree diagram here. That's it. In tree diagram, so the same thing has been represented. The population is 10,000. 1% sick means 100 people. 99% healthy means 9,990. In that 1% sick, 99% test positive, which means 99 people. 1% test negative, which means 1%. Out of this 9,900 people, 1% will test positive, which means 99 people, and the remaining 9,801 people will turn negative. So from the basics of statistics, so this, if we have two events, that is X and Y, and their relationship, if it is between the probability of either event, okay, so either this happens or that happens, so that is indicated by P of X and P of Y. So let us look at that formula itself. Yeah. So here we have two events. So that is the one event X and event Y. So then if I want to establish the relationship probabilities among these events, so P of X indicating that event X will occur, probability of event X, and P of Y indicating probability of event Y. Then, so P of X means probability of occurring of X, then P of Y means probability of Y occurring. Then the joint probabilities. So joint probability is represented as P of X comma Y. So joint probability means both probability of both event occurring. So that is called as joint probability. So these are individual probabilities, that is P of X and P of Y. Then we have one more term that is called as conditional probability. So conditional probability is represented like this. X occurs, event X will happen only if event Y has occurred. So this is called as condition. So what is the condition? Y should happen. So the probability of X when Y occurs. So that is the conditional probability. So for this particular scenario, we have an equation here. So that is probability of Y occurring when X has occurred into probability of X. So probability of X means probability of event X occurring. So multiplied by, this is a conditional probability. So here we are multiplying with probability of X. Here that is probability of Y occurring when X has already occurred. So which means it is equal to saying that both events are occurring. That is P of X comma Y. What is P of X comma Y? That is both events are occurring. This one is also equal to probability of Y. So Y event has occurred. What is the probability that X will occur when Y has already occurred? So if you multiply, then, so if probability of Y is there here, then which means it is equal to P of X. So which is equal to P of X comma Y. So this is the formula. So based on this formula, there is one more law that is called as a Bayes law. So in Bayes law, we will solve for this particular conditional probability, that is probability of occurrence of Y when X will occur. And this is based on the assumption that the probability of the event X is not 0. So which means X will occur. So the Bayes law suggests so that probability of Y occurrence of Y when X has occurred is equal to probability of X when Y has occurred into probability of Y divided by probability of X. So this is the formula. See, if this one numerator, actually p of xy we have here, right? So this is equal to this one only when both will occur, divided by p of x. That's it. So if we further simplify, it comes to be joint probability distribution divided by probability of x, right? Again, if you cross multiply, you will get the same thing. So in the same equation, so this part is taken, that's it. So this part and this part are equated, that's it, simple. So we want probability of y when x is occurring, so push this probability to denominator, that's it, right? So this is called as the Bayes law. So in this law will be used in Naive Bayes. So the denominator, that is p of x, so that is often implicitly computed, and this p of x is called as a normalization constant, that's it. So in our particular case here, so that is a person falling as sick or not, so we'll find a filter like this. So finally, we are referring to a person sick and person healthy. So a person sick is represented as sick, and a person in the test is detected as positive as plus. So sick indicates the person is sick, and plus indicates the same person has been detected as positive in the test. That's it. So if this case, in this particular case, then we will try to compute this probability of sick when he has tested as positive. So in our case, what happened? So in the test, we may have positive, but actually in the, even though it is positive, there are again two cases, right? So either the person can be sick or healthy. So we are determining this one's sick part. So what is the probability that a person is sick when he has tested as positive? So the conditional probability, if we write, so it will be like this. So the probability of a person being sick when the test is positive, so that is equal to, based on the Bayes formula, so we'll write probability of this one, here it is x, so probability of detecting as positive when the person is sick, probability of a person being sick divided by probability of positive. So from the example, the data that is given, so we can write what is the probability that a person is detected as positive when he is sick. So that is 0.99. That this is the term, because it is 99%. Then what is the probability of person being sick? So it is 0.01. Sick person treating as positive. So that is the first term. That is 99% of the sick person will be tested as positive. So that is 99%. So we have 0.99. So probability of a person being sick is 1%. So it is 0.1 divided by what is the probability that a person is positive. So that depends on both, that is positive, sick detecting as positive, not sick detecting as positive. So both the things are there. So then if you multiply, so it comes out to be 50%. So this is an example of a medical example where the tests are conducted and whether a person is detected as sick or healthy. So it comes out to be 50%. Now the same concept will be applied for spam filtering. Okay. So a spam filter can be established to filter an individual word. So if we want to write a formula for that, so it will be, I'll just write the formula. So the probability of a word is declaring as spam, and right. So the probability of a word appearing and the probability of that particular word being a spam on one side, so is equal to probability of a word occurring of a word and it is a spam. A word is a spam and that word appears, and probability of a spam divided by probability of a word occurring. So this is the formula based on the Bayes rule. So if a word appears, so this adds to the probability that the email is spam, but it's not conclusive because we need to see what else is there in the email. So just because of presence of one word, we can't say that the email is a spam. For that purpose, so we'll just focus on one word at a time. So which we generally call a word. So one word at a time is taken. So we'll take a word, we'll take one word, and then the spam indicates the email is a spam. So probability of email being a spam and the probability of base such that the word has occurred. Then probability that that particular word is in the mail and the email is a spam. The probability that the mail is a spam divided by the probability of that particular word appearing. So this is the base formula that we can apply on individual words. Okay, so we shall stop our discussion here for today. So in next class, so we shall see the spam filter for individual words, and we'll take it further to see how all other words can be accommodated, and then we will see uh, how to combine all the words and build a naive Bayes. So you can enter your attendance in the chat window and exit.